creature? What is a virus? Is it living or non-living thing? I've been confused for so many days. After knowing the fact that the virus which is making trouble all over the world is not a living thing. They can multiply themselves by entering into the other cells, which is a living thing. Blew my mind. And it's same for all kinds of virus. Our virus is the creature which could not turn into cells or failed to become cells back million years ago.
Life is defined as everything that have at least one cell and other properties. So by that definition, viruses are not living beings. As you said, viruses need a cell in order to replicate. They cannot replicate themselves because there's no metabolic processes happening in them. There are two main hypotheses about the origin of viruses. Roughly speaking, one hypothesis says viruses are pro-life particles who did not become full cells as you stated, and the other hypothesis says that viruses are the product of genetic material escaping from cells, mainly bacteria, and evolving to independent particles. Most human scientists consider viruses to not be living things because they don't have their own reproductive mechanisms, which is considered one of the most important defining qualities of life. Viruses do not create offspring themselves. Instead, they infect a living cell and trick it into creating the virus offspring. As for the origin of viruses, scientists do not really know where they came from. Perhaps viruses evolved from the same common ancestor as the rest of life. It's even possible that viruses originated several times independently, each of which could be explained by any of the above hypotheses. Perhaps the first viruses were fragments of genetic material that broke off of other cells. It's even possible that viruses originated several times independently, each of which could be explained by any of the above hypotheses.
But what is the relation between the viruses and flu and others respiratory infections?
Glad that you ask. Flu is a contagious respiratory illness caused by influenza viruses that infect the nose, throat, and sometimes the lungs. It can cause mild to severe illness, and at times can lead to death. The best way to prevent flu is by getting a flu vaccine each year. Respiratory infections are infections that happen in the lungs, chest, sinuses, nose, and throat. Chronic infections are those that occur repeatedly over time, especially in the fall and winter seasons when people are spending more time indoors and in groups.
That is what we all want. Science is back. Bitches.